Hey everyone, how are you guys doing today? If you got a chance to watch the video I did yesterday with Brian, that's still kind of pinned on there in the group, and just want to give you guys some tips that you guys can use for keeping track of your speaking progress on a daily basis. So let me just see if this video is popping up in the live feed here. Come by and say hi if you're watching the replay. I'll put the links to these resources so you can use these and check them out. And then, but here, if you're here live, let me know. Leave a comment here, and I'm going to show you a couple links that should help you out here for the language learning. So let me just check to see if anybody can see me here yet. So when I was in the Add One challenge, I used several of these tools so that I could practice recording myself on a daily basis. And I think it was one of the keys that was helping me out to kind of see my progress on a daily basis. So let me just kind of check out here. I see at least maybe one or two people joining and saying hi. So say hi, leave a comment here. So I'm going to show you a couple resources that you can use to record yourself. So I mentioned in the previous message that I was going to talk about a few of these ones, like two of them for audio and two of them for video. And there's other options as well that you could use. These ones are kind of simple and not too complicated to use because you don't have to download anything. You just have to use your browser for that. And so I see. Okay, trying to see here. Okay. So let me start giving you a couple of these screenshots so you can see this here. I think last time I tried switching my screen on here and the image kind of got changed. So I guess I'm just going to try out something here. See if you can see the text on here. And yeah, let me see here. I'll just write on this piece of paper, see how this appears on the screen. Hopefully this should just appear as just saying hi. No, that's backwards. Okay, so you guys see me backwards on the screen, but I guess if I switch the camera, let me see if you can see my screen. It looks to be correct, but I don't know if that means for you guys you see it backwards. So leave a comment. Let me know if you see the screen correct or if you see it backwards. So this first tool is called SpeakPipe.com /voice recorder. There's a hyphen there between voice and recorder. And I like this tool because it's just very simple to use. You just click on the start button, and it immediately starts to record how your voice is going. And then as soon as you stop recording, it will give you the option to listen to what you're saying, and then you can upload it to their free server. It'll be there for like 3 months, but it's really a private. It's a private link. Nobody's really going to discover the link to the audio file. And I like this one the most because it's very easy to get this link to your audio recording and then send it to somebody. You could send it to them, like you could put it in the Facebook group. And I would like to try this out a little bit with you guys to see if this is something that could help you with keeping track of your progress. And one thing that I've been doing lately in a couple of my webinars for TOEFL prep is that I've explained to people how to use this tool and then we do some TOEFL speaking questions, and I invite them to send me a recording that they've made with this tool, and they post the link to their audio recording in the text chat, and then on my other computer I can open up the file, listen to it live with everybody else, and then we give them feedback on their speaking. So it's been a really cool way to interact, because most of the time in webinars you can only do like text chat stuff. So this has been a really cool way to interact with people with audio, especially when you have a group or a crowd of people watching. If you don't really like the idea of there being like your audio recording being on a server, well, the other option that I could give you here is this one called Online Voice Recorder. That's a hyphen. Sorry, my hand's kind of shaking here with my holding my cell phone here, but it's online-voicerecorder.com. This one's very simple as well. You just give the access to your webcam or your microphone, click the red button, and it'll start recording you. And then you can download the audio onto your computer. In this case, you would have to share the audio file by probably like a email or as an attachment if you're going to use this with a language exchange partner. But the other one, the SpeakPipe tool, you could just put that as a comment. I mean, obviously, if you guys are using Facebook messages, you can share audio files with each other. You wouldn't have to use these tools. But if you guys are using other language exchange platforms like italki or switching to, I don't know, Skype or something like that, you might not necessarily have those audio features. So this is one way that you could include audio recordings with your partners. And more importantly, if it's just for your own personal use, you can make this recording, download it to your computer, and just keep a daily log of your speaking. And you could do this for 1 minute, you could do it for 5 minutes. When I was in the Ad1 challenge, I was doing like videos for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And that was just really kind of getting myself to get in the habit of speaking and practicing using the language. In my case, it was Russian. If you want to include video with this, one free tool is called Webcam Toy, just webcamtoy.com. And this is pretty simple to use, and I think if I remember correctly, I think it integrates with YouTube. So you could make your recording and then send it over if you have a YouTube account. Or I think you can also download the video onto your computer. And another tool is this one called webcamera.io. So here it's asking me to authorize my webcam and the audio. And then I can start recording with my camera and microphone and then download the recording to my computer. So another thing that you could do, I won't really go into it right now because it's kind of a little more technical, but you can also use YouTube Live. So that means you would have to have your YouTube account set up, and then YouTube integrates with Google Hangouts, which used to be Google Hangouts on Air. Now it's integrated together, but that's a little bit more technical, and I think you might want to see an actual like a tutorial video on YouTube of how to do that. And I also wanted to mention that with Benny Lewis's website, Fluent in 3 months, the fi3mplus.com, he has this section of these uploads, and you have all these videos here, so that once you've uploaded your video to YouTube, you can put a link to your video into this chat, and you can see all these videos of people saying like they're trying out these videos for the first time, French, Spanish, German, Italian, and this is just to get people's like feet wet in terms of their practice. And then a lot of people are getting with these discuss comments, they're getting feedback on their speaking. So if you happen to be a native speaker of these languages that these people are practicing, it's a great way to start kind of interacting with those people and making some friendships in this community. And I've uploaded a couple of videos on here, but I would say doing all of these little tricks and hacks like on your own, it's kind of just going to get you as like only so far. But what was really great for me was being involved in the Add One Challenge community. So I'm going to switch my camera back to me here. So when like the whole community is kind of based around this fact of like you are going to record yourself on day 0, day 30, day 60, day 90, and from what I understood of from the interview I did with Brian about a year ago, he was telling me that he was involved in Benny Lewis's community, and he was making these kind of regular videos and uploading. And he said that there was another person who was also making recordings, uploading them. And after a period of these like 3 months or so, I think Brian had said like, thank you to that person. Thank you for making those uploads, because that motivated me to keep making my uploads and keeping track of my speaking progress. And the other person said, like, wait a minute, you're thanking me? No, I should be thanking you. You were helping me, keeping me motivated. So that's what was one of the ideas that really motivated Brian to start the Add One Challenge community, to realize that when people are all kind of contributing and uploading and keeping track of their progress and helping keep each other kind of accountable, that was one of the big ways to kind of, that like what Brian says of you can go fast alone or you can go far together. And I can see a couple people here, Sophia, Carol, that you've been part of the Add One Challenge. So it'd be great to hear your opinion as well on like what those recordings were like for you and how you got what you got out of the Add One Challenge. And so that's why I wanted to share a couple of these links. I'll put the links in the description here, so if you're watching the replay, you can get those links for the SpeakPipe, the online voice recorder, the Webcam Toy, the video recorder, and in checking out part of Benny's site there to see people kind of uploading little things. But I would definitely say check out the Add One Challenge. That's a very dedicated community of very passionate language learners just like you, who want to see results and want to find accountability, want to keep track of their progress, and maybe they've gotten frustrated trying different methods, maybe boring grammar books, maybe just working alone has not been enough. So finding people who can share their best practices, can share their strategies of what works, and also discovering maybe what works for you is something you haven't tried out yet. So the community is really well organized, and I would highly recommend joining it. It did a great job for my Russian studies when I joined in the Add One Challenge number 15, and when I was also simultaneously working on Greek. That was a little crazy doing both at the same time, but still I made a lot of friends who I've invited into this group, and I'm sure they can also give their input on what the community was like for them. And I would say definitely check it out. And if you haven't already started recording yourself on a daily basis, I would say, what's stopping you? These tools are very easy to use, and those are just a few ones that you could use on your laptop computer. And if you are a little bit more into social media, you have Instagram Live. You can make videos on there. Those videos on Instagram, they will delete as soon as the live feed disappears. I know you can also use Snapchat. I think that kind of deletes a little bit. I think some people have used those to share messages with friends. Obviously, right now I'm doing Facebook Live, so that's another way you could record yourself on your cell phone. Some people are telling me that like YouTube Live is now possible on your cell phone, but then you have to have at least 10,000 subscribers, so that kind of, maybe not everybody has that yet. But you do have options. You can use, Instagram Live, Facebook Live. There's Periscope. I see there's a lot of teachers starting to use Periscope. Also, a lot of musicians using that as well. But Periscope is a great way as well to kind of just turn on the camera, start speaking. It makes a recording, and you can kind of tweet about it because Periscope and Twitter are connected. Those are a couple of ways that you could just kind of just get over your fear of speaking and just record yourself. And you don't even really have to tell people like, hey, I'm going live. If you're kind of maybe ashamed or nervous about speaking. But a big part about speaking is just you need to practice the muscles. You need to practice the mind of connecting words together and just start speaking. One thing that I do tell a lot of my students about is when I first came to Mexico City, I was an extremely scared pedestrian because the drivers here are just really dangerously kind of unpredictable. And about 6-7 months into my living here, I had to start driving. If you guys remember in 2009, there was this whole swine flu, H1N1 outbreak that was like here in Mexico. I was living here, and my wife's family was saying like, no, you can't take public transportation anymore. Start taking the car. And in the United States, the only car I'd been using was an automatic. And the car that I had here in Mexico was a stick shift. So that was very stressful. And I was just really thrown into the deep end of having to use a stick shift car with a lot of dangerous, unpredictable drivers. It was just extremely stressful. And one of the things that kind of helped me was on like weekends, I would take the car to like a quiet neighborhood, just go like switching gears, like first gear, second gear, braking, starting over, or finding like a very quiet parking lot and just going around in circles to get used to the car. And so why am I talking about this image of me driving and learning how to drive stick shift? It's because I feel that language learning in some respects is like learning how to drive a car, especially if it's like a very stressful situation where you don't know how to drive a manual stick shift, and then you have to get into the traffic and deal with pedestrians, deal with taxi drivers, bus drivers, people jaywalking. So when you are practicing a language, it's like you figuring out all that stuff, and then if you add into it the idea that you have to make a conversation with somebody that you've never spoken to before, then when like you have to figure out a conversation topic, you have to understand them when they're speaking. You have to figure out like, I don't know, cultural taboo, if it's like things that are acceptable to talk about or not. Plus you have to worry about vocabulary and pronunciation and grammar and your confidence level. And at some point it's just like, what am I doing? So if you're at a very low level and you want to get started, like recording yourself speaking is a great way to just get started speaking. You don't have to worry about a partner listening to you. I mean, it's great to have feedback on your pronunciation, your grammar, vocabulary, but a big part of the speaking practice and you recording yourself is just the fact that you are speaking and practicing these words and going through the mental process of maybe conjugating verbs, maybe having to decline them. I had to do that in Russian or in German. And that can take some, like a puzzle. It's like putting these puzzle pieces together in the right order. And it takes time, it takes practice. And those are some things that could be a little annoying or frustrating or embarrassing if you're doing that in a live conversation with a partner. Maybe your partner is not very patient. Maybe you just don't connect and you feel kind of embarrassed that you're speaking at a low level. Well, these recordings can be a great way if you do this on a daily basis. It's really what worked for me. And I would say that over the course of like making these videos on a daily basis for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, my speaking level just got really, really great. I had language exchange partners tell me at the beginning before I started doing this, my grammar was really weak, my vocabulary was very limited, my pronunciation was not easy to understand. I was speaking very slowly, and basically my confidence level was very low because of all of that. But little by little, as I was doing this, my grammar started to improve. I got a little bit more confident with like connecting the words, like conjugations, declensions with like nouns and adjectives in Russian. And it got faster. It got easier to just like, I'd done that before, so it came faster. It was like top of mind. I didn't have to think about it so much. It became a little bit more automatic. Also, my pronunciation got a little bit better because I knew what was correct, and then it became automatic. So little by little, these things became automatic, and I didn't have to think about them so much. And so by the end of the Add One challenge of the 90 days, I was speaking very comfortably, even if I wasn't necessarily having very frequent conversations. The fact that I was recording myself and keeping track of like what was difficult, what did I need to work on, that kept me motivated, that kept me stimulated, and I could see results. Like little by little, I was getting more comfortable speaking the language. And if I take this back to the example about driving, I would say now I don't think about driving. I just drive. I just get in the car, turn on the ignition, and try to focus on, well, where do I need to go now? I focus more on my destination, the route, where I want to do, what I want to do with the car. I'm not focused on my hands, my feet, switching hands and all that. All that stuff is automatic now. It's a reflex. I don't think about it. So there is a process where you start with something there. You are conscious that you're making mistakes. You know you're making mistakes. Or there's even the fact that you make mistakes without realizing it. Then another step is you make correct forms of speaking, but you have to focus on this. And little by little, as you focus and speak correctly, it becomes automatic, and then you speak correctly without thinking about it. And then eventually you get to a point where you're speaking correctly, not thinking about it, and in a stressful situation. So it's not just like in calm, peaceful moments when you're speaking correctly. You also need to test yourself kind of in stressful situations. So you need to be exposed to a lot of stuff. But really these first steps is really kind of recording yourself on a daily basis. I would say that's one of the biggest things that helped me with my progress. And I would be very welcome to see you guys use, for example, the SpeakPipe tool and post like an audio recording in the Facebook group, or if you have a YouTube account and you say, okay, here's me practicing my language on a daily basis. I'd be very welcome to see you guys participate in the Facebook group with that, and I'd be very happy to create little daily prompts to get you guys kind of motivated with that stuff. But these are things that you can get a lot out of, especially if you join the Add One challenge with Brian Kwong and the rest of that community. So that's a more organized group specifically for those 90 days. And right now in our language exchange group, we're like between 15,000, 16,000 people. So it can be very overwhelming sometimes, just all of the feeds that come up. But I would say the Add One challenge is a great place where you can just like focus on your language progress with like-minded people. And I would say this next new initiative that they have of English speakers learning Italian and Italian speakers learning English, I think that's going to be a great way for people of both languages to focus on helping each other, and not necessarily having to go way too far out of the community to find language exchange partners or native speakers. So I think this new initiative that they're doing for these two languages, language pair, is going to be a great way to keep people kind of focused and more motivated with their progress. So I would really encourage you guys to go check that out. I'll put a link here. I think I put the link in the description for this video, but I just wanted to share these recording tools that you guys can use for keeping track of your daily progress and using them. And it doesn't have to take a long time, and you can do this for like 2 minutes. Just record yourself for speaking for a minute, or if you're really inspired, get started with speaking for 1 minute and then speak for 2 and keep going, or do this multiple times in the same day. Like, I've seen some really cool videos lately on YouTube where people are kind of like walking on the street or in their daily life and recording, like creating their story, which you could see on Instagram or Snapchat and some of that stuff. So if you kind of accumulate those little videos of, here I am preparing my breakfast, and then you're commenting on it, or here I am locking the door of my house, can you describe those actions? And just so it's not necessarily you always recording inside your house and it's always in the same context, maybe you could just flip on the recorder even on your smartphone or something like that. You don't necessarily have to use these tools. These are just a couple options, but you can use whatever tools are convenient for you. And like if you have memory space on your phone or a camera, take advantage of that. Kind of record, oh, here's a scene on the street. Can you describe what you're seeing? Here's some food that you're eating in a restaurant. Can you describe the food? So any of those little interactions that you have on a daily basis that are just part of your routine, part of your daily life, see if you can comment on them, make a video about them, and just kind of keep track of your progress and push yourself out of your kind of comfort zone as much as you can to just practice. Because that's another thing that I saw with these videos, is that I might draw a blank of a vocabulary word of like, how do I say that? And I would keep going. I would keep trying to speak. And then I would go back and watch that video and realize, oh, I didn't know that word. Now's an opportunity for me to learn it. So I think some people, they learn vocabulary just long and lists, just lots and lots of words that they might not necessarily need to use. But I think one technique that I liked with these videos was just push myself to describe something, talk about something, and when I ran out of words and I didn't have the words that I needed for the grammar or the vocabulary, I realized, okay, I'm at the limit of my vocabulary. I need to push and learn new words. And those words that I needed and that I didn't know, those were the words that I wanted to learn. It wasn't just long lists of vocabulary that somebody else told me I had to learn it because it might be useful. These words that I realized in these videos that I didn't know, that was almost a little painful to realize, like, I don't know that word. How do I say that? How do I translate that? And that really motivated me to want to learn more and to push myself forward. So I've probably gone way too far on this video. I'm going to stop here, but I just want to say, get in the habit of making recordings on a daily basis if you can. And definitely check out the Add One Challenge community. I think it's a great place to be learning languages with other people who are just as motivated as you are. So I hope you've found this video useful, and I'll post links to these video tools and audio recording tools. So guys, have a great day, and again, happy Valentine's Day to all of you who are celebrating that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.